Greetings, travelers of Middle-earth, and welcome to another captivating journey with Hidden Kingdoms. Today we venture into one of the most enigmatic and eerie locations in Tolkien's world, the Dead Marshes. Here ghostly faces rise from the murky waters like spectres from a forgotten past. But what secrets do these haunting apparitions hold? In this video, we will delve into the mystery of the faces in the Dead Marshes, exploring the lore and legends of Middle-earth to uncover the truth behind this eerie phenomenon. As we begin our exploration, let us ponder, what forces lie behind the spectral faces that haunt the Dead Marshes? Are they the restless spirits of fallen warriors, trapped in a limbo between worlds? Or do they serve a darker purpose, lurking beneath the surface to ensnare unsuspecting travelers? Join us as we seek answers to these questions and more, journeying deep into the heart of Middle-earth in search of truth and understanding. Make sure to watch this video until the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Before we delve into the mystery of the faces, it is essential to understand the origins of the Dead Marshes themselves. This desolate and foreboding landscape, stretching far to the east of the Emyn Muil, was not always the lifeless swamp it has become. To uncover its secrets, we must travel back in time to the Second Age of Middle-earth, a period marked by epic battles, heroic deeds, and the rise and fall of great powers. During the Second Age, a cataclysmic conflict known as the War of the Last Alliance took place. This war was fought between the combined forces of elves and men, led by Gil-galad and Elendil, and the Dark Legions of Sauron, the Dark Lord of Mordor. The war culminated in the epic Battle of Dagorlad, fought on the vast plains that would later become the Dead Marshes. The Battle of Dagorlad was a defining moment in the history of Middle-earth. It was a clash of titanic proportions, with armies numbering in the tens of thousands. The forces of the Last Alliance fought valiantly against the overwhelming might of Sauron's armies, which included orcs, trolls, and other foul creatures. The battle was fierce and bloody, with countless lives lost on both sides. As the battle raged on, the dead began to pile up on the field of Dagorlad. Elves, men, and orcs alike fell in great numbers, their bodies strewn across the battlefield. The ground became soaked with blood, and the cries of the dying echoed across the plains. Despite their losses, the forces of the Last Alliance ultimately emerged victorious, driving Sauron's forces back to the gates of Mordor. But the cost of victory was high. The battlefield was littered with the bodies of the fallen, and the land itself seemed to absorb the sorrow and despair of those who had perished. Over time, the once dry plains of Dagorlad began to transform. Water seeped into the ground, creating a vast and treacherous swamp. The Dead Marshes were born, a grim and desolate reminder of the horrors of war. The transformation of the plains of Dagorlad into the Dead Marshes was not merely a physical change. Something far more sinister took root in the waters of the swamp. As the years passed, travelers who ventured into the marshes began to report strange and terrifying sightings. Ghostly faces, pale and hollow-eyed, seemed to rise from the depths of the water, staring silently at those who dared to look upon them. These eerie apparitions quickly became known as the faces in the water, and they were feared by all who knew of them. The faces appeared to be those of the dead, their expressions frozen in a mix of sorrow and despair. They seemed to beckon to the living, luring them closer to the water's edge. Those who gazed too long into the faces were said to be drawn into the marsh, never to be seen again. The faces in the water became the stuff of legend, their presence lending the Dead Marshes an air of malevolence and dread. But what were these faces? Were they truly the spirits of the dead trapped in the marshes for all eternity? Or were they something else entirely, a manifestation of the dark forces that still lingered in the land? To answer these questions, we must turn to the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien himself. In The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien offers a glimpse into the mystery of the faces through the eyes of Frodo Baggins, the ring-bearer, as Frodo, Sam, and their treacherous guide Gollum make their way through the Dead Marshes on their journey to Mount Doom. They encounter the haunting faces firsthand. Gollum, who has a deep and troubled history with the Marshes, warns Frodo and Sam to avoid looking into the water when the candles are lit. His cryptic warning sets the stage for one of the most chilling scenes in the story. As Frodo peers into the water, he sees the pale faces of elves, men, and orcs, their eyes staring lifelessly back at him. The faces seem to call out to him, drawing him closer to the water's surface. It is at this moment that Frodo nearly succumbs to the eerie allure of the faces. He is pulled into the water, his mind overwhelmed by the spectral presence of the dead. It is only through Sam's quick intervention that Frodo is saved from drowning in the marsh. The encounter leaves Frodo shaken, and he later reflects on the strange and terrifying experience. Tolkien's description of the faces in the Dead Marshes is deliberately vague, leaving much to the reader's imagination. This ambiguity has fueled endless speculation and debate among fans and scholars of Tolkien's work. Some believe that the faces are the spirits of the dead, trapped in the marshes by some dark magic. Others argue that they are merely illusions, created by the malevolent influence of Sauron to instill fear and despair in those who venture too close to his realm. To fully understand the mystery of the faces, we must consider the role of Sauron, the Dark Lord of Mordor, in shaping the Dead Marshes and the horrors that reside within them. Sauron, as the embodiment of evil in Middle-earth, wields immense power and influence over the land and its inhabitants. His malevolent presence can be felt far beyond the borders of Mordor, and it is possible that the faces in the Dead Marshes are a manifestation of his dark will. He is known for his mastery of deception and manipulation, using fear and terror as tools to achieve his ends. Throughout the Second and Third Ages of Middle-earth, he employed various tactics to sow discord and despair among his enemies. The creation of the One Ring, with its ability to corrupt and control the minds of others, is the most infamous example of his cunning and treachery. Given Sauron's proclivity for psychological warfare, it is not unreasonable to suggest that the faces in the Dead Marshes could be one of his many deceptions. The Dead Marshes lie perilously close to the borders of Mordor, making them a natural barrier for those seeking to approach the Dark Lord's realm. By filling the marshes with ghostly apparitions, he could effectively deter intruders and instill fear in the hearts of those who dared to enter. This theory gains further support when we consider his meticulous approach to defending Mordor. The Black Gate, the Tower of Cirith Ungol, and the surrounding fortresses and strongholds are all formidable obstacles designed to keep his enemies at bay. The faces in the Dead Marshes could be seen as an extension of this defensive strategy, a psychological weapon meant to weaken the resolve of those who venture too close. Moreover, Sauron's influence over the Dead Marshes may extend beyond mere illusions. It is possible that the dark energy of Mordor has seeped into the very land itself, corrupting the water and the spirits of the dead. The faces may be a physical manifestation of this corruption, a twisted reflection of the suffering and despair that pervades the land. To further explore the mystery of the faces in the Dead Marshes, we must also consider the role of the dead and the concept of spirits in Tolkien's legendarium. Middle-earth is a world where the lines between the living and the dead are often blurred, and the fate of souls after death is a topic of great significance. In Tolkien's cosmology, the fate of elves and men after death differs significantly. Elves, being immortal, are bound to the world of Arda until the end of time. When an elf dies, their spirit or fey travels to the halls of Mandos in Valinor, where it may eventually be reincarnated or remain until the end of days. Elves are closely tied to the world, and their spirits do not leave the confines of Arda. Men, on the other hand, have a different fate. Upon death, the spirits of men pass beyond the world of Arda to a place known only to Eru Ilúvatar, the supreme deity in Tolkien's mythology. This gift of mortality, known as the Gift of Men, allows them to escape the confines of the world and move on to a different existence. The nature of this existence is one of the great mysteries in Tolkien's work, and it is a source of both hope and fear for the characters in his stories. Given this distinction, the presence of both elves and men among the faces in the Dead Marshes raises intriguing questions. If the spirits of men are meant to pass beyond the world, why do they appear to be trapped in the marshes? Could the marshes represent a kind of limbo where the spirits of the dead are caught between worlds? Or could it be that the faces are not true spirits at all, but rather a distorted reflection of the physical forms of the dead? The inclusion of orcs among the faces further complicates the matter. Orcs, as corrupted beings, have a murky and tragic origin in Tolkien's mythology. They were originally elves, twisted and corrupted by Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. As such, their fate after death is uncertain. Are they doomed to linger in the world, their spirits bound by the darkness that created them? Or are the faces merely a manifestation of the evil that permeates the land, a twisted echo of the lives lost in the battle? These questions highlight the complex and multifaceted nature of Tolkien's world. The mystery of the faces in the Dead Marshes touches on fundamental themes in Tolkien's work, including the nature of life and death, the consequences of war, and the enduring struggle between good and evil. The faces serve as a reminder of the tragic cost of conflict and the lingering scars it leaves on the world. In addition to their role within the narrative, the faces in the Dead Marshes carry a deep symbolic significance. The Dead Marshes, as a landscape, represent a kind of liminal space, a boundary between life and death, light and darkness, hope and despair. The marshes are a place where the past is ever present, where the dead rise from the depths to confront the living. The faces themselves can be seen as a symbol of the inescapable consequences of war. The Battle of Dagorlad was a pivotal moment in the history of Middle-earth, a battle that determined the fate of the world. But it was also a battle that left deep scars on the land and on the souls of those who fought in it. The faces in the marshes are a haunting reminder of the lives lost in that conflict, a reminder that the past cannot be easily forgotten. The marshes also symbolize the pervasive influence of evil in Middle-earth. The transformation of the plains of Dagorlad into the Dead Marshes is a reflection of the corrupting power of Sauron and the darkness that he brings to the world. The faces, whether they are spirits, illusions, or something else entirely, are a manifestation of that darkness. They serve as a warning to those who would challenge the might of Mordor, a warning that the shadow of evil lingers long after the battle is over. At the same time, the faces in the Dead Marshes also represent the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the horrors they have witnessed, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum press on through the marshes, determined to complete their mission. Their journey through the Dead Marshes is a test of their resolve, a trial that they must overcome to continue their quest. In this way, the marshes also symbolize the strength and courage required to face the darkness and move forward in the face of overwhelming odds. Given the ambiguous nature of the faces in the Dead Marshes, it is no surprise that fans and scholars have developed numerous theories and interpretations to explain this eerie phenomenon. These theories range from the literal to the symbolic, and each offers a unique perspective on the mystery. 1. The spirits of the dead. One of the most popular interpretations is that the faces in the Dead Marshes are the spirits of those who died in the Battle of Dagorlad. This theory suggests that the marshes serve as a kind of limbo, where the souls of the dead are trapped, unable to move on to the afterlife. This interpretation is supported by Gollum's references to the candles that lure travelers into the water, suggesting that the faces are more than mere illusions. Proponents of this theory argue that the presence of both elves and men among the faces indicates that the marshes hold the spirits of all who perished in the battle, regardless of their race. The inclusion of orcs among the faces is seen as further evidence that the marshes are a place of spiritual unrest, where even the corrupted souls of Sauron's minions are trapped. 2. Illusions created by Sauron. Another theory posits that the faces are not spirits at all, but rather illusions created by Sauron to deter intruders and spread fear. This interpretation aligns with Sauron's known tactics of psychological warfare and his use of fear as a weapon. According to this theory, the faces are a manifestation of the Dark Lord's will, a way to keep the living from venturing too close to Mordor. Supporters of this theory point to the proximity of the Dead Marshes to Mordor as evidence that the faces are part of Sauron's defensive strategy. They argue that the faces are meant to demoralize and disorient travelers, making it difficult for them to navigate the treacherous landscape. In this view, the marshes are a deadly trap, designed to ensnare and eliminate those who pose a threat to Sauron's dominion. 3. A manifestation of trauma. A more symbolic interpretation of the faces is that they represent the lingering trauma and sorrow of the Battle of Dagorlad. In this view, the faces are not literal spirits or illusions, but rather a manifestation of the collective grief and suffering of those who died in the battle. The marshes, having absorbed the blood and tears of the fallen, have become a reflection of the emotional scars left by the conflict. This interpretation emphasizes the psychological impact of war and the idea that the land itself can bear witness to the horrors of battle. The faces in the Dead Marshes are seen as a symbol of the heavy toll that war takes on both the living and the dead. A reminder that the consequences of violence extend far beyond the battlefield. 4. A connection to the unseen world. Finally, some interpretations suggest that the faces in the Dead Marshes are connected to the unseen world, a realm that exists alongside the physical world of Middle-earth. According to this theory, the marshes are a place where the veil between the seen and unseen worlds is thin, allowing the spirits of the dead to manifest in the water. This interpretation draws on Tolkien's broader mythology, which includes references to the unseen world and the idea that certain places in Middle-earth are closer to this hidden realm. In this view, the faces are not necessarily trapped spirits, but rather echoes of the unseen world that have become visible in the marshes. The Dead Marshes are seen as a liminal space, a boundary between the physical and spiritual realms. This interpretation highlights the mystical and otherworldly nature of Tolkien's world, where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural are often fluid and porous. The Dead Marshes and the faces within them have left a lasting legacy in the lore of Middle-earth. They are a powerful symbol of the enduring impact of war, the pervasiveness of evil, and the complexities of life and death. The marshes serve as a reminder that the past is never truly forgotten, and that the consequences of our actions can linger long after the events themselves have passed. In the broader context of Tolkien's work, the Dead Marshes can be seen as a reflection of the themes that permeate his stories. The struggle between good and evil, the importance of memory and history, and the inevitability of loss and sacrifice are all encapsulated in the haunting landscape of the marshes. The faces in the water are a testament to the depth and richness of Tolkien's world, a world where even the most enigmatic and eerie phenomena have a place in the grand tapestry of the story. For readers and fans of the Lord of the Rings, the Dead Marshes remain one of the most memorable and unsettling locations in Middle-earth. Their eerie beauty and haunting mystery continue to captivate the imagination, inviting speculation and interpretation. The faces in the water are a reminder that, in Tolkien's world, even the most desolate places are filled with history, meaning, and a sense of the profound. As we come to the end of our exploration of the Dead Marshes, we are left with more questions than answers. The faces in the water remain an enigma, their true nature hidden beneath the murky surface of the marshes. Are they the spirits of the dead trapped in a limbo between worlds? Are they illusions created by Sauron, a cruel trick to ensnare the unwary? Or are they something else entirely, a manifestation of the trauma and sorrow of a long-forgotten battle? Whatever the truth may be, the faces in the Dead Marshes continue to haunt the imagination of those who encounter them. They are a powerful reminder of the horrors of war, the pervasiveness of evil, and the enduring mystery of life and death in Middle-earth. As we bid farewell to the Dead Marshes, we invite you to share your thoughts and theories on this eerie phenomenon in the comments below. What do you think lies behind the faces in the marshes? Are they the spirits of fallen warriors trapped in limbo? Or are they a cunning deception designed to deter intruders? We look forward to hearing your insights and engaging in a lively discussion as we continue to explore the mysteries of Tolkien's world.